Hi, I'm Alison Sepanera.
And I'm Taylor.
And we're the hosts of the Anxiety Chicks podcast, where we dive deep into the reality of anxiety, nutrition, and mental health.
Listen as we explore all things anxiety healing while keeping it real, including our own struggles with mental health.
We'll bring our expertise as healing professionals to the conversation while discussing the tools and strategies you need to heal the anxious mind.
Listen to the Anxiety Chicks on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Anxiety Chicks podcast. I'm Alison Sepanera.
And I'm Taylor. And today we're diving into a topic that many people grapple with, and that is chronic illness or mental health. And I feel like social media has a lot of us connected. And maybe if you're someone who struggles with health anxiety or panic attacks and you've scrolled TikTok or scrolled in Instagram long enough, you've ended up on someone's story and been like, oh my gosh, I have Lyme disease. Or this isn't just mental illness, it's got to be something else, because there's a lot of that. And I've fallen prey to this as well. I think
I was just going to say, I definitely have too. I think that, having things so instantaneously, I think information at your fingertips instantaneously, we talk about that a lot, like not going online for certain things, but I feel like that blurs your brain.
I feel like a lot of times I know personally in health anxiety, I was always looking for an answer. And I feel like that's such an answer to some people. It's like, oh my gosh, I knew it. I just got bit by a tick 5 years ago. And so I have Lyme disease. And that is why I have anxiety. And for some people, that is the case. And so we're going to get into that. First, let's clarify exactly what chronic illness is and what mental health is. So chronic illness refers to long-term health conditions that persist over time, such as autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia, arthritis, diabetes, Lyme disease, etc. These conditions can significantly impact a person's daily life and overall well-being. And I think it's blurred because we feel the same, right? So mental health encompasses our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, and it plays a crucial role in how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Conditions like anxiety, depression, and PTSD all fall into this category.
So now that we have kind of discussed the difference or kind of how they can be overlapped of chronic illness and mental health, it's definitely obvious why there could be a blurred line into it. And then when you go on TikTok or social media, where I feel a lot of us are triggered, and you hear someone else's story and say, for me personally, I stumbled upon this girl who actually did get diagnosed with Lyme disease. And she was like, I was having heart palpitations. I was waking up in the middle of the night, my heart racing. I was feeling dizzy during the day. And so when you're reading that, when you're watching that, as somebody who was experiencing the same symptoms, you resonate with them and you're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly how I feel. This must be what I have. But that can lead to so much spiraling. So, for example, like fatigue is a common symptom of both chronic illnesses like chronic fatigue syndrome, but also depression. People who struggle with depression, they feel fatigue. People who struggle with CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, they also feel fatigue. And it's kind of like how people with health anxiety are like, oh, I have a headache, I must have a brain tumor. So the overlapping is really what is a lot of the unknown and the anxiety. And that's where it makes it challenging to know what is the primary cause.
Well, do you want to know I will say this maybe non-scientifically, just from my own life experience and for my experience working with anxious clients for over 20 years. The biggest chronic illness that's attached to anxiety is IBS. Mm-hmm. I'm not even again, not scientific. Go do research. There's a lot of research out there, but I'm just saying from my experience personally, IBS and anxiety are so intertwined. Mostly because the gut-brain connection, right? And when you think of how I was just talking to a client about this earlier today, and I was giving her some education about the gut-brain connection and the gut-brain axis and how that is, I feel like, has been so difficult because it's like the chicken or the egg, right? You feel anxious and then your stomach starts hurting more and you start getting IBS symptoms, and then you get IBS symptoms and then you start getting more anxiety. And it's seriously like just this cycle. And I can imagine that's how it is for a lot of other chronic illnesses, right? Because you want to get just an answer for what's happening to your body. And also, you want to get answers of how it connects to what's happening in your brain. And there just is not one simple, here's the answer. Because if you had it, then you could just work on it and fix it, you know?
Right, right. And I think that's the hard part about mental health is like getting to the place and the point of being like, I struggle with anxiety and I need to just work on anxiety, or I struggle with depression and I need to like accept and work on depression. Acceptance is so huge. And we'll talk about that more in like our therapy episodes. But I think that's the next step of this all is like seeking help and finding balance. So
Totally. Yeah.
I truly feel if you are somebody who, say, you were triggered by a video, you saw this thing, blah, blah, blah. I do believe in like, hey, you have all the right to go out and get tested in any way you feel you should. You should advocate for yourself because I do also believe there's people running around with panic attacks who have a thyroid issue, who have a
Mm-hmm.
type of chronic illness that they don't know about. So I do believe in that, but it's also you can't compulsively let yourself get just so extremely anxious with all these people's stories and always thinking you have all these things. I feel like that's the biggest downfall of social media.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, when it comes to connecting to social media about a lot of these issues, whether it's mental health or chronic illness or physical health. I mean, we talked about one episode about doom scrolling, right? And then we just talked another episode about setting boundaries with social media. I mean, you have to just really, really become aware and intentional about how often you're using it and how you're using it. And the good thing is there is actually really good information out there, but sometimes you don't know what is the correct information.
Right.
So, you just have to really do your research, and you really just, other than social media, to do your research in other places. Get information from there, great. Stay informed. There's so many wonderful mental health practitioners and doctors and, just all these experts, but also just get information outside of that too, you know?
So for me, and this is an idea, you can take it if you want. If you're ever scrolling and you come on a video that's like this girl's story about her symptoms with Lyme disease and it really triggers you, create in your notes app a list of my worries. And one, I would say the step before this is have a doctor you feel you really can trust and that really understands you and that really wants to help you. And that could be a functional medicine doctor, which I highly recommend because I feel like they really, really listen, especially to these things such as chronic illness, which chronic illness is a very sad community when it comes to Western medicine because a lot of times it isn't visibly seen and you're not heard. You're told, hey, everything looks fine. But once you dig a little deeper, it's really not. So I think having that doctor that you really feel connected with is the first step, and finding one based on word of mouth, based on something. If you feel like you go to a doctor and you bring up Lyme disease and they go, oh, or like they just kind of like brush you off, that's not someone who wants to listen to you. So find someone who they really hear your worries and have that list in your notes app where say you come on a video and it's very triggering to you and it's a topic that's triggering to you, or you feel like you listen to it and you're like, I'm worried, like that feels like something I struggle with. What if that is what I had? Rather than living with that thought every day of wondering if that's you, put it away in your worry app, in your worry notes. And when you see your doctor next, bring up these topics to them and see what they have to say because they are the ones with the knowledge and the information on those things. Do not go into the TikTok search bar and keep watching videos on that topic because you will end the night with, I have Lyme disease. Because listen, I've done this and I did this in the past with MS. But I think that's a huge thing is like putting it away. Write the worry down. You don't have to pretend it doesn't exist, but write it down and say, I'm worried this could be me. And I'm worried this is something that I could actually have that could help me if we figure out I have it, and talk with your doctor. I'm not saying you aren't valid to be anxious about it. I'm saying like put that worry away though. You don't be the FBI private investigator on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. in your bathtub. I'm saying like go visit your doctor, bring up the worries, and it truly could be something to investigate. But also when the doctor says, hey, we've investigated it and you're good, being able to leave and not ruminate on that thought or think, oh, the doctor's lying to me. Oh, but what if they didn't do this? What if they do that? Really having peace with, okay, I really can just be struggling with a mental health disorder.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, I think being able to become very clear of what you're physically feeling on any given day and how that attaches to how you're emotionally feeling is going to be huge. So, if you are seeing a functional medicine doctor, which I agree, best advocate, I would say, to go to. I mean, it's a doctor, yes, but it also is a doctor that advocates for you. A functional medicine doctor, integrative doctor, they are going to advocate for you 100%. They're going to want to know more. They're going to spend time with you. They're going to want to know more about, how you're emotionally feeling, not just physically feeling. They're going to want to know more about your lifestyle, right? Your diet. They want to know holistically what you are doing to help yourself and how you're living your life, because they want to create a plan to help you feel very balanced physically and emotionally. And that's what we all want to feel, right? I mean, life is life. It's not going to be like that every single day, but I like that. Like writing down when when you have someone that you're going to see, a functional medicine doctor, or someone, like you have a team of people, right? Maybe you have a therapist like me, or a
Yeah.
dietitian like Taylor, and you have a team of people. Maybe you have an acupuncturist. I mean, this is like who I have, and they all kind of, if you want them to, they can talk to each other, or they can all hear what's working and not working, and you really get a team of people around you that actually want to help you, and not just be like, take this, this is going to make your symptom go away. Bye. Because with chronic illness, it's not just about treating a symptom. It's about treating you as a whole person and understanding more about your nervous system, and yeah, maybe Lyme's, right? That really is so debilitating for some people when it comes to their nervous system and comes to fatigue, and just really trying to understand yourself better and giving yourself grace. Okay. And so it can be, and one other thing I think is, important to remind yourself of is, if you have like an autoimmune disorder or IBS, hello, or, something like fibromyalgia, right? Or diabetes, something, this is, I don't want this to sound daunting, but you're going to have to learn how to balance for the rest of your life. Balance these things in your life. They're not going to define you, but you have to start changing your lifestyle on a daily basis to work with what you're going through, because these are autoimmune diseases. Some of them will get better in some days, and some of them will flare up. And so you're going to have to work through this during in your life, just like with emotional health. You have to
Mm-hmm.
work on your emotional health for the rest of your life. I mean, it's just what it is. So how can you do that and still feel balanced? You know what I mean?
No, I absolutely know what you mean. And it kind of reminds me of right before my period, I've literally come to the acceptance of there are a few symptoms I get that in the past used to make me spiral. And now there's this huge thing with acceptance. And like you just said, like if you struggle with IBS, if you struggle with some type of chronic illness that you deal with and it can get triggered, there's something beautiful about acceptance and knowing, okay, I have this flare or I have this symptom. I know that this is a part of something I have. What are the things I can do to take care of it when I feel this way? Rather than freaking out about it or making it worse, like getting scared of it, getting mad at it. And I feel that way with my period. I feel like the week before, like sometimes I'll get a little dizzy and I'll feel like the dizziness I used to feel with anxiety. And I know that it's just hormone fluctuations. So I tell myself that I'm like, oh, you're having some like hormone fluctuations. This will pass. In 2 days, I feel better. And that always happens. It's like, I'm sure when you get an IBS flare, it sucks, but does getting mad at it or freaking out about it, thinking your like appendix is busting or like, something crazy, you're like, okay, I've been here before. I know what this feels like. I know how to nurture myself in this moment. And that itself is so peaceful, is having that
Yeah,
acceptance.
100%. That's actually been part of the healing work for my IBS. Now, I have IBS with diarrhea, IBS-D. Some people struggle with IBS-C, which is constipation. I don't know which is where. I mean, I whatever, it doesn't matter. But I will say that I have really learned how to live with it. I have.
Mm-hmm.
And now my flare ups are not half as bad as they were when I was having constant panic attacks and like just so dysregulated and going through, like understanding my trauma responses a lot more, and knowing that, those physical symptoms are something that triggers me usually, right? But now I've learned how to breathe in a different way. I've learned how to treat my mind differently and accept that this is going to be just something that I have a sensitive stomach. I have sensitivities to certain foods. It's taken me a long time to work through that too, right? To knowing what foods might be healthier for your stomach, whatever. So it really is being gentle with yourself in those moments, and also learning when to give yourself permission to say no and just rest to things. If you're having a flare up, if you are feeling fatigued, especially, of course, you don't want to just go in. It's very easy to go into this isolation withdrawn phase and maybe get into this depressive phase. But so I would say definitely try and challenge and push yourself as much as you can, but also listen to your body, right?
Mhm.
Take those times you need to rest. Take the times you need to take care of yourself, maybe, and schedule an extra acupuncture session, or acupuncture is something that has been so healing for me. That's why I said it. So anyone with chronic illness, I would highly recommend acupuncture. And yeah, just be patient with yourself and, hang around the people and your support system that understand this part of you. Not people that get mad at you because they're like,
Mhm.
what? Oh my gosh, what do you have? Oh my God, I've never heard of that. Is that even real? Because that's actually a
Yeah.
huge thing. And especially on social media, people just minimize, some of these autoimmune disorders. And like even some Western doctors, no, you just have anxiety. Oh, you're just tired, right? And they dismiss it. And that is, no, like I just can't. I don't want to say a lot of
I
bad
mean,
words right now.
even IBS, I've heard people say, "Oh, your gut flora is just out of whack," and it's really bigger than that. It is a chronic illness. It is something that, Allison, you've probably dealt with looking back longer than you realize.
100%. Oh my gosh, ever since I was little. Remember, like, I've talked so much about my childhood and how I was always in the nurse's office.
Hmm.
Stomach aches were always my thing. During big family holidays, has stomach ache on the couch. I would say hi to people. I also struggle with some social anxiety. So it was a lot of people. And I was, like, I didn't. And so, yeah, I don't know if you'd call it that as a kid, IBS. I mean, I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my 30s. So, yeah, I mean, listen, when I was diagnosed with IBS, I went and I got a colonoscopy and an endoscopy because I have reflux too, right? All of that's the same system within your stomach.
Hmm.
And I got a diagnosis and I never heard from the doctors again. They literally didn't tell me anything. They gave me actually omeprazole for my reflux. That's it.
Oof.
They gave me omeprazole, and what I've took for years and years. Now I finally weaned off of it. I take it maybe once a week or something. I'm like really proud of that. I also eat
That's huge,
differently and
actually. That's
everything.
actually huge. You can regulate your stomach acid post that. Like, that's
I
so
mean,
huge.
I really weaned myself off of it. Specifically, I learned by myself how to do it because I didn't want to just go cold turkey. You're not supposed to do that.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've been able to do that. And so I also think intermittent fasting has been really helping me. It helps me so much and my reflux. But anyway, so yeah, they sent me pills. They sent me my pills and sent me on my way. I'm like, okay, now what? And that's actually when I first found my integrative doctor. I did a lot of research like 10 years ago and realized I thought to myself, oh wow, there's people that actually want to know how I'm functioning more than just giving me a pill. And so yeah, you have to really, really just advocate for yourself.
Chronic illness is very real. It's very, very hard if you struggle with it. But once you get to a place of acceptance, Allison, you probably live your full normal life now and you know exactly how to deal with it. And that's why you shouldn't be scared of it either. There's so many amazing people who want to help you, who want to listen to you, who aren't going to just brush you away. And if you've been brushed off before by a doctor, don't give up on yourself. Chronic illness, mental illness, all of it. It's one of those things that we're all, I feel like, trying to work on to make this a better place, because if you struggle with either of those, it's
Yeah.
tough.
Just know that you're not alone. And of course, if you ever need support and you can't find it in your own space around you, Taylor and I are here for you. And feel free to DM us at any time. But yeah, this is a great conversation and we can totally relate, you guys. So just let us know if you need any more support, and you know where to find us. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us on all streaming platforms, Apple. Leave us a review, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. Leave us comments. So we love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
I also think our next, we should look into chronic illness specialists. So people
Ooh,
who specialize in some of these different chronic illnesses could be really cool since they're the experts, especially IBS. That'd be cool to get one on for.
on it. I'm on it. I'm on it.
She's on it. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
We hope this episode reminded you that you're not alone and healing is always possible.
If something we shared helped you, the best way to support the show is to leave a review or share this episode with a friend who needs it.
And make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Anxiety Chicks for more support between episodes.
We're just two chicks on our own healing journeys, cheering you on every step of the way.
Until next time,
take a deep breath. You've got this.